Patagonia is breathtaking, but absolutely unforgiving. Pack wrong and your dream trip turns into a disaster. Here is the ultimate packing list. I've explored Patagonia for years, and today I am giving you the ultimate gear guide so you can explore it like a pro. Let's jump right into the gear guide. Patagonia is located equally as south of the equator as the Pacific Northwest is north of the equator. So think of Patagonia as the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Portland, the Olympic Peninsula, and Olympic National Park. So let's start with clothing. When it comes to clothing, there's the obvious things. You're in a rainforest. I would dress long sleeves, long pants, good old hiking boots, everything you need to stay warm when it's rainy, but also shed layers when the sun comes out, and it does obviously get warm. You guys understand packing clothing, but let's talk about what oftentimes people miss. For example, one of my first times to Patagonia, I realized that I was unprepared when it came to the rain. I'm from Utah. I had my Columbia snowboarding coat. I thought that was perfect. Then the rain hit, and what did I find out? Columbia coats are not for rain, they're for snow. I've got here what I recommend as the first and most important item you're going to take to Patagonia, and that is a waterproof rain jacket. This is a Helly Hansen sailing jacket. It's pretty much rubber, but it keeps the water out. Imagine your gear being needed to stand in a shower. If you can stand in a shower with the shower head spraying water all over you and you can stay dry, then you've got the right gear. That's oftentimes what it feels like when it rains in Patagonia. So you've got your jacket here, good pair of waders, you're fishing there, good pair of wading boots, you're gonna bring those. I do recommend put the studs in the bottoms of your wading boots so you have really good traction. You're gonna want a good build hat for when the sun does come out and also for the rain. Again, you gotta remember this climate, it rains more than there's sunshine. Rains more than 50% of the time. You are in a rainforest. Some good sunglasses that are polarized so you can see the fish and all of that. Now, when we move to gear bags, there's a lot of different options for gear bags. I highly recommend not just a water-resistant bag, but a waterproof bag, one that can literally be submerged in the water. This is a fish pond bag with the zipper system where once this is sealed, it is absolutely watertight, airtight, and can go in. There's nothing worse than fishing in the rain and your gear bag gets full of water and pools up. This will also keep your electronics if you've got GoPros or actions and cameras and gear that you don't want to get wet. All right, let's talk photography and drones. So I've got my gear box right here. You might pack a little differently. I just have 2 drones. I've got the camera that we're recording on right now, some mics, and so a few other things. But a few things to recommend. First things first, have a good portable battery like I've got right here. What makes this nice is this can charge everything up from the battery, and you're not always plugging in to the Chilean or Argentine outlets that are a 220. Most of this stuff is not used to a 220. So charging the battery first, charging these things is always a good tip. On drones, know that whatever drone you bring to Patagonia, there's a high likelihood that you will lose it. I have lost 2 drones in water in Patagonia because a little gust of wind just sends them into the water. So buy the insurance, it's worth it. I'm taking a second drone this next trip that I have just so I'm more prepared with that. And again, the rain can sneak up on you, so be a good practice piloting. Make sure you're good to get that drone back in your hands and into the box before the rain starts. All right, let's talk accessories. There's a lot of accessories that I sure wish I had before I went on my first trip. The first one is a little Garmin GPS. This little guy, it's kind of expensive. It's about $400 nowadays, but here's why it's important. It's important for emergencies. It's for $14 a month. You have, of course, the SOS button, which, boy, you better be prepared if you're gonna push that button. You push that, it calls the Coast Guard, about a $100,000 bill, but you get rescued. You can be about anywhere in the world and push that SOS button. But that's not completely why I bought this. I bought this because for that $14 a month plan, this Garmin device will connect to your phone and allow you to send text messages virtually anywhere, from anywhere. So you can be deep in the Patagonia forest, and if you need to get a message out back to the lodge, back to base camp, to your family, wherever they might be in the world, this will actually send the text message to the satellite. You can text from this device, but it's kind of brutal because you have to use the options here. But you can sync it with Bluetooth to your phone and type right into your phone and send text messages from anywhere. No Wi-Fi, no nothing, it's satellite. So I do highly recommend having this. Of course, it's a safe thing too. Come on in here. If you've got a buddy, bring a couple of Motorola talkabouts. These are waterproof, has the lights on the bottom, kind of handy to have. Oh my gosh, this is a lifesaver. Now these come in different things. This little float is set up for the camera that's recording right now, but you can also buy these for your phone. And I highly recommend it because if you're out fishing in the water and you've got a big fish on and you lose your camera and drop in the water, you don't want that or this sinking to the bottom. So this will keep it afloat. Headlamps. Headlamps are handy from around the lodge, for going through the forest, different things, but obviously at nighttime it's nice to have a light. But I do want to recommend one really important tip. Buy a headlamp that not just has white light, but also has green or red or both. Remember, bugs don't get attracted to the red lights or the green lights. So if you're in the nighttime in the rainforest and the bugs are out, you're going to want to rock that green light, not just the white light. Let's talk power adapters and power. Chile is type L when it comes to your outlet. That's the same as Italy. So when you're shopping for stuff, you'll want these. Again, Chile is a 220, Argentina is a 220. A lot of American and Western countries have 110. This will convert it great. Most lodges have a handful of these in a basket you can use. But definitely grab those. Because of that 220, you might want a power strip that also has the surge protector, and so you protect it. Again, a tip that I would give you is, come back here to the box here. A tip I would give you is have one battery that charges all your stuff by USB-C, and that's the battery you charge each night when you're sleeping. That way it keeps everything charged. You don't have to have 100 cords going to 100 different devices all plugged into the outlet of wherever you're staying. The battery really does help. All right, so let's talk fishing gear. I'm not going to go deep into fishing gear because there's so much to talk about, but can we just make sure you get the fundamentals? First of all, back to bag gear. A fishing bag that is waterproof. Again, you will be fishing in the rain more than you will be fishing in the sunshine. Welcome to Patagonia. And I don't like my gear soggy and full of water, so this little airtight, watertight bag makes sure that all my gear stays dry. This is obviously something that can also attach to my fish pond big bag. Really nice to have. And you'll see I have two rods here. I've got my fly rod. It's great. I highly recommend heavier weights than light weights because you're catching big fish. You're not going to Patagonia to catch guppies. You're going to Patagonia to catch the big browns, the big steelheads, the big rainbow trout. Get a big rod. I also have a small little packable spinner rod. This saved me, you guys. When I went to Patagonia a couple of trips ago, day one, within the first hour, my fly rod tip broke off. And I was devastated. But I was so happy I had my spare spinner rod because I was able to salvage my trip and throw on some spinners and have a nice little spinning trip as well. A lot of you professional fly fishermen, I'm sure, will have a spare fly rod as well. I didn't. Spinner rod can save you. When it comes to flies, there's so many things we can talk about when it comes to flies, but I highly recommend just stick to your classic woolly buggers. Have black, have white. We need to get more white. Have olive green. Have all your woolly buggers. We've had far more success with woolly buggers in the big rivers in Patagonia than some of the dry flies. But I always take nymphs. Sometimes that's kind of fun to explore. And I'll have the dry flies if indeed I see a hatch or something comes out. Woolly buggers are like your safe bet though. And that goes to spinners too. Check these out here. When it comes to spinners, these are your go-tos. These are Rapalas. Obviously it's kind of a trout theme with Rapalas. That's what we're going for here. Out of all of them though, I highly recommend, even though there aren't brook trout in the rivers I fished in Patagonia, this little brook trout Rapala is number one. I caught more fish on this Rapala than anything else, but you can see I've got the rainbow trout here, got a brown trout, all do pretty good, floating, sinking. I recommend sinking. These fish are generally deep. Again, that's why the woolly buggers do well. That's why these let's sink them deep. Now, likely you're fishing with a guide. So guides are gonna have things like your nippers, your pliers, But I always recommend have this because you're not always with a guide. Bring your pliers with you. Stay prepared to kind of venture off. You've got your equipment with you in case you want to leave the guide and go on your own. But again, guides will have nets down there, but one net I highly recommend is a net that has the measuring right on it. So handy to have. I have some fish grabber here that's also a scale. Super handy to have so you can actually weigh these big fish you're catching. Fun little pro tip. If you're down in Patagonia and you have a chance to go fishing in the ocean, know that the Chilean wahoo are only found in one spot in the world, and that's that southern Pacific Ocean. There's a lure here that we found that just kills it. It's like a squid thing. You can buy these for cheap off of Temu. They go crazy for these squids. So if you have a chance, and most guides will have them, but if you have a chance to do some ocean fishing and you want to catch Chilean wahoo, check out those squids, or at least make sure the guides you're with have those as well. All right, guys, bonus tip here. These are the little things that everybody forgets about. All right, number one, you're hanging out at the lodge. You've got soggy clothes on. You've been out fishing all day, so you get it all hung up. Now you want to lounge around the lodge and relax. Don't forget a good pair of flip-flops. Then it's time to go to bed. You're in double occupancy and you've got a guy in the cabin with you that snores. Don't forget your earplugs. They will save you. And then last but not least, you won't get too far on your trip without a passport. And I also recommend bring cash for tips. Now I've got US dollars here. I do recommend US dollars, usually in denominations of 20s or hundreds. And the reason I recommend US dollars is sometimes your guides aren't Chilean, sometimes they're not just Argentine. You don't necessarily know who you're working with. And so it's nice to tip in US dollars in case they are going to head back to Argentina when they're done with your trip. Or if they're Chilean, you might not know which peso is the best to tip them. But everybody takes US dollars and they're grateful for it. For the full comprehensive list of all the gear you want for your Patagonia trip, check out fundolosleones.com, and we have a gear list there that lists everything out so you can pack for the best trip possible. Guys, thanks for joining this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Check out Fundo Los Leones. We've got an incredible lodge there with all the fishing experiences you'd ever want to have, as well as exploration with helicopter, by boat, even by bicycle if that's your thing. Come check us out, fundolosleones.com, and we'll catch you on another video.